Hello, dear investors. Thank you for joining this investor webinar of Consilium Optimum Fastlink bond issue. Today, we have the CEO of the company and the shareholder, Vitalijus Romualdas Andrijauskas.
Hello.
Also, we have the deputy CEO of the company, Denis Savratsky.
Hello.
And the representatives from OSUM Securities company, which is an arranger of this bond issue, Mykantas Urba, and myself, Povilas Petričionis. So today we will present the ongoing bond issue of Consilium Optimum Fastlink, and I'll shortly start with the description of the company. So Consilium Optimum is a Lithuanian telecom company which is serving its clients across 6 main business segments. The biggest segment and the most profitable one is fiber-optic internet, where the company gets the majority of its revenue, but it's also the company serves its clients across these segments as mobile connectivity, video surveillance, smart TV, 4G, 5G internet, and other IT and IP services. Looking at recent years, we can observe that company experienced a huge growth in terms of revenue, EBITDA growth, and net profit. We can see that compounded annual growth rate in recent 4 years of revenue and EBITDA were above 30%. And clients each year, the amount of clients each year grew by almost 25%. And in the end of 2025, the total number of clients reached above 43,000. What is important to mention that this growth of Fastlink was supported by healthy credit ratios. We can see that net debt leverage at the end of 2025 was a bit below than 2.2, and the equity ratio was around 36%.
I'll just want to shortly interrupt. As always in our webinars, you are welcome to submit your questions using Q&A interface. We will register them and answer after we have gone through slide.
Yes, thank you, Mykantas. So in the top panel, you should see the icon Q&A. When you click the button Q&A, you can choose whether to ask the question anonymously or publicly. And also this webinar is being recorded, so we will share this recording with each participant who registered for this webinar. Moving on, the transaction itself, company is raising up to 8 million value bonds to refinance its existing bonds that were issued in 2024. So the new bond issue will be up to 8 million with the coupon of 8 to 8%, 8 from 8 to 8.5%. That will be determined finally by the auction. The tenor of these bonds is 3 years, and the whole funds will be used only just to refinance the previous bond issues as mentioned before. These bonds are secured by the first rank pledge over the company's claim rights under customer contracts, and the revenue from these contracts in April 2026 were around 698,000 euros. Once again, so this use of funds will be to refinance the existing bond issues that were issued in 2024. One bond issue was of 5 million size, 12% coupon. The other one was 3 million size, 9% coupon. Looking at the financial summary on the right side, we can just once again observe the huge growth of revenue, EBITDA, and net profit in recent few years. And what is outstanding is also its margins, and specifically net profit margin, which was above 22% in 2025. And comparing to major competitors in telecommunications market, we can observe that net profit margin was the highest or one of the highest across all the sector. What is important for the debt investors, it's the long-term debt column, that line. We can see that in 2025, the total long-term debt was 11 million, around 11 million, which consisted of 8 million bondholders, And the only other creditor beside bondholders were ILTA, which is a national development bank of Lithuania. Moving on, so looking at terms and conditions of this bond issue. So what I haven't mentioned yet, yes, so the coupon will be determined within three levels of 8%, 8.25%, and 8.5%, determined by the auction. The whole program size is 12 million euros. So the company will have an opportunity to issue additional 4 million bonds within 12 months period if it wants to after this issue. Subscription period is until July 15th, but we encourage the investors, if you are considering about investing in these bonds, to do it not the last day, because a lot of banks and intermediaries who accept the orders, sometimes we have their own deadlines that are before the official offering period end. The interest payments will be semi-annual, and the covenants and undertakings applied for this company will be these. So a company will need to maintain net debt to EBITDA ratio below 4. Equity ratio must be above 25%. And the company's shareholder will not be able to pay the dividends during the existing period of these bonds. What is very important to mention is that during this offering period, in parallel, exchange offer is offered for existing bondholders who may change their existing bonds to new bonds and receive additionally early redemption fee of 1% or 1.5% and accrued interest. These bonds will be listed in NASDAQ First North Exchange at the first day of this issue register, so at the issue date, to comply with Lithuanian tax regime of investment account. If the bond will not be, let's say, in case of unsuccessful attempt to issue listed on the first date, it will be listed no later than 3 months after the issue. The trustee is Audifina, and the arranger of these bonds are OSUM Securities. So key credit highlights about this company. So as shortly mentioned before, this company has proven to be able to grow at very high pace. Company increased its client base each year by almost 25%, and in 2025, the total number of clients was above 43,000. What is also important statistic metric, the official agency of Lithuania, RRT, has we can see in their data that Fastlink was the fastest growing fiber optic provider in Lithuania since 2023. It has increased its market share from 2% to 2.9% since 2023, and it was the biggest growth across the biggest competitors in the market. Secondly, it has shown strong financials and to be able to grow at very high pace while maintaining high margins and healthy credit ratios. The only other creditor beside bondholders is Lithuania's official national development bank, ILTA. And thirdly, company is very technologically advanced and is often being the one who brings new technologies to the local market. For example, Fastlink was and is the only fiber optic internet provider in Lithuania who can offer up to 10 gigabits speed connection speed network here in Lithuania. And lastly, company benefits from positive regulation environment here in Lithuania. So basically, because of local regulatory institutions, the company is able to use its partners' infrastructure to reach end clients where it does not have its own network. So basically, Fastlink can rent in a sense an infrastructure from the biggest players such as Telia or Seagate to provide these services for their end clients. So that is a short introduction, and now I'll pass the word to the company's CEO and shareholder, Vitalijus Romualdas Andrijauskas.
Hello, a little bit of story. The journey started in 2000 when the first service appeared. It was internet service providing to apartment buildings. In 2003, we started fiber network construction with the cables. We chose very correctly, we chose single knot, and those cables we're using till now. In 2005, it was IP telephony, or in other words, voice over IP, and the first business customers. In 2010, it was smart TV with catch-up, IP television, with the unicast protocol. In 2015, it was video surveillance and smart self-service system. In 2017, we were the first in Baltics to start transmission of 4K, ultra high definition TV channels. In 2018, we opened the possibility to sell our services, internet services, to all Lithuania through our partners network. In 2020, we started using OTT, our CDN network, mobile application, and multi-bitrate streaming. In 2021, we started selling 4G internet all over the Lithuania. In 2002, it was 5G internet all over the Lithuania. In 2023, we started to sell voice services, mobile voice services, VAD library and auto contract system. In 2024, we were the first in Lithuania who started to sell internet of speed of 10 gigabits per second to private customers. In 2004, we also issued a bond program for 5 and 3 million, and we were the first who get yield guarantee. It was about 50 slides. Yeah. Business overview. The key services of our company is fiber optic internet, smart TV, OTT, video on demand, mobile connectivity, 5G, 4G internet, mobile voice services, video surveillance, and access control. So we think the main reason why we are good at what we are doing is the main that the infrastructure is very modern. Bundled services, in-house execution of all major products, partner channels, many partner channels, which helps us to sell our products, and AI-powered operations. Now we launched the AI agent who can sell products without human interruption. And the main basic revenue, about 70% is internet, TV, and IP services. About 10% is equipment and facility rental, and about 20% is other income. We started to work with the real estate development from about 2010, but how we knock in the door to developers. we started with internet and TV, and it was very hard. So later, we decided to provide to developers internet, television, video surveillance, alarm systems, and intercoms. And it was a little bit easier to come into the project. But later we decided to do more services to builders, installation of electrical service connection, fire protection system, battery solutions, smart home solutions, and project design inputs. So now we work with the biggest builders in Lithuania, Omberg, Situs, Runner, also with the biggest real estate administrators like Civinity, Busto, Expertai.
Maybe
And
Romualdus, I will add what it gives to you as a company is that you access the new development, real estate residential, usually real estate development. You provide these installation services and project design stage. In return, you get exclusive access as an internet provider for the residents for some limited period of time, like 5 years or something like that. So it's a way for you to quickly expand your user base in a concentrated manner, meaning that the whole development is basically internet is provided by your company.
yes, exactly. And the result after working with real estate developers is that we are the first company which has all the services in every flat before the customers enters the flats. So this is good.
Yeah, and it's worth to mention that speaking about these services which are showed here, we should say that there is almost one company in Lithuania who can provide all these services from internet to smart home solution, batteries, and electrical installation from one hand. So if developers want to get these services, they should cooperate with different providers. What is not cost effective, what should, and if you cooperate with a lot of providers, you need to spend more time on cooperation and so on and so on. So the best and most effective way here is to have one provider. And actually speaking about Lithuania, we can state that maybe Fastlink is the only provider who can provide all these services from one hand.
Yeah, and the company does not rely on outsourcing and subcontractors. Fastlink itself does a lot of works by themselves, by in-house solutions. We lay cables, we do IT solutions, while a lot of competitors rely on subcontractors and outsourcing services.
Yes, and client base and contracts. Annual, not annual, but average contract duration is 28 months. Annual contract amount is about 180 euros. And the growth of the company from 2021 till 2025 was from 18,000 to 43,000 customers. So annually about 25%. And basically all our customers are in Vilnius, located in Vilnius, more than 70% of them, and other customers in other bigger cities. But in the future, we think that our network will spread dramatically, because even now with the OTT or over-the-top opportunity, when services bringing to the customer for internet, for example, IP television or telephones or mobile internet. So we will spread our network much bigger than we have now all over the Lithuania.
Okay, we can move forward, and next slides will present for you Denis Savratsky. I'm Deputy CEO of Fastlink, and I will review the key objects of the company, and we will start from our investments. First of all, we understand that the key driver of our growth is investment, and that's why we invest every year in network infrastructure, service capacity, software, and IT. And during 2024-2025, we invested more than 60 million euros into technological expansion, and this helps us to grow our number of customers. Of course, we understand that. So let's say the main our competitive advantage comparing with competitors is our own fiber-optic network. So we invest heavily here, and in 2025 we invested more than 3.5 million euros here, what allowed us to have fiber-optic own network coverage in Vilnius more than 26%. And also, what we do, we also invest in server infrastructure and IT. Here, our goal is to grow faster in terms of server infrastructure than our customer base is growing. So, by doing the investments in 2025, we were able to serve 85,000 of customers, and we definitely know that we will continue investments, and in the next slide you will see that these numbers, fiber optic coverage in Vilnius, server capacity, and so on, will grow. And we also see that our investments pays off because, as Povilas mentioned, at the moment, for example, we are the only fiber optic internet provider in Lithuania who can provide to private customers 10 gigabit per second internet speed connection, and we heavily communicate that to the customers. There is really high demand on their services, and we will continue to develop our own network infrastructure in order to provide opportunity to more and more customers to get this such high speed of the internet. What is more important that we are able not only to grow quickly, but also effectively. As you see from this slide, our revenue growth during last 5 years was almost 190%, but our headcount grew only by 40%. That means that we grow not only quickly but effectively, and the main KPI which shows this effectiveness is revenue per employee. You see that it grew from 67,000 in 2021 to almost 140,000 in 2025, so it's more than doubled. And how we do that, of course, it could be a question, and everything like it's simple. It's just invest in operational efficiency, in automatization, and in artificial intelligence. And of course, like artificial intelligence at the moment, like a buzzword, everybody is using that, but we are not only using that word, but we are doing actions in that sphere, let's say. And good example of that could be like we have for 2 or 3 years or even more, like a chatbot who serves our clients, who collects inquiries from the customers, distributes these inquiries through our customer service, and then we connect with customers. At the moment, we develop new generation voice bot and new generation chatbot, and even today, all our customers already can experience our voice bot. Here, it's also worth to mention that I think, as far as I know, we are the only or one of the first companies in Lithuania, I don't know, maybe even in the Baltics, who started voice bot. So, for example, even you can call to our customer service line after working hours when our head office is not operating, and you will speak with our voice bot Simona. And what is interesting that she speaks every language: Latvian, Estonian, Chinese, and so on, so on. So, guys, you can definitely try to call, and you will be serviced in Latvian or, for example, Estonian language. And of course, we use different automatization tools in other parts of the company, like in IT, like we have automatic backups. We use artificial intelligence in content management, in quality of service, and of course, like we use Power BI in order to have constant information on the key metrics of the company: customer service, sales, finances, marketing, and so on and so on. And what we are going to do in the future, of course, we are consistent. We are going to do more or less the same what we did during last 3-5 years, because why we are going to do the same things. Maybe it could be strange, but because we did it for 3 or 5 years and we see now that it is working, we have a result, so we would like to continue. What we will do, of course, we will heavily invest in our fiber-optic own fiber-optic network coverage in Vilnius, and we think that by 2027 it will the coverage will be 30%. And you should understand here that Vilnius is the city which is growing most in Lithuania. So if we speak here that our coverage will be 30%, the network will spread much more all over the Vilnius. Of course, we will invest also in service capacity, because we understand that the number of our customer base will grow, so we should be able at least to service 100,000 customers by 2027. At the moment, we have already opportunity to provide to all the customers in our own network 10 gigabits internet connection, and we will spread this service through all of our database. And of course, we will continue to invest in artificial intelligence and automatization. For example, I think in the near future, we will allow customers, all of our customers, to conduct a contract online. To have a fully digital onboarding. This will help us to spread our services easier all over the Lithuania and to decrease our costs. And of course, we will do further investments in our artificial intelligence solutions like chatbot, voice bot, because here we have target to service all customers 24/7 and to decrease the response time for the customers. Because I see that at the moment at certain companies, when you call, for example, to customer service line, we need to wait for 5, even 10, or even 15 minutes. We want to answer to all of the customers, would it be mail, message, voice call instantly. And of course, what we are doing at the moment also, we will launch this year updated version, a new version of our video platform, TV platform, through which our customer can watch video content, video on demand, films, TV channels, radio, and so on. And it will be featured by voice assistant, different artificial intelligence solution recommendations for the customers. And we think and believe that it will increase customer satisfaction and customers experience drastically. And during this year and next year, we will be able to increase the number of our clients more drastically. And of course, it works to speak and to spend some time speaking about our organizational structure and our people, because of course people are key driver of development in every company. In Fastlink, we have 63 employees at the moment, and what is important and what is our competitive advantage comparing with our colleagues, let's say it's that we manage all of our main services in-house. It's IT, sales and customer service and engineering. It means development of our own fiber optic network. Everything is in-house, so we are able to do that relatively cheap, quickly, and to be very cost effective and with a high quality. Of course, sometimes we use partners to provide to us certain services, but the priority is in-house. Speaking about the management, Vitalijus Romualdas Andrijauskas is solo shareholder of the Fastlink company. He has a master's degree in computer science from Vilnius University, and in Faculty of Mathematics and Computer Science. He manages business for more than 20 years. Speaking about me, I have more than 10 years experience in banking services, more than 7 years experience in telecommunications. So we have like a good, how to say, good tandem, because Vitalijus Romualdas Andrijauskas is very good in IT, technical things and business development. And speaking of me, my strength is financial services and financial management. So here is a good bundle between us. And what is worth to mention here, as Vitalijus is the solo shareholders, that we never paid dividends. Everything what we earn from business, we invest in our business development.
Yeah, also worth noting, as you probably already understood, that the issuer is not a newcomer, it's a seasoned capital market player. In 2024, the company has issued 2 bond issues, so 5 million raised in mid-2024 and additional 3 million issued at the end of 2024. Also, innovation is not bordered by the operations of the company. Also, in capital sphere, we can say that the company was innovating. The company was the first which has received ILTE guarantee for the 3 million bonds. This time, why we are not using the ILTE guarantee, it's not because the company is not able or not fit. Simply, there is a limit for a ILTE guarantee program, which states that up to 40% of the issue can be used for refinancing. In this case, we're using 100% of issue for refinancing. That's why we are simply not able to use the ILTE guarantee. Also, what's important, of course, is how companies spend the capital attracted through bonds. So all 8 million was spent on capex. Focused on growth. So majority, almost 4 million euros, spent on fiber optic network expansion. As we said, this is the key success driver and key margins driver for the company. Also, server capacity, another tangible asset issue, and the 2 remaining, it's new current services development and process automation. Of course, it's intangible assets, but nevertheless, really important in keeping the efficiency of the company. Paul has mentioned that there is a switch opportunity. Also, again, to stress that if the investors are not switching the bonds after the successful placement, there will be an early redemption of these bonds. So it is planned that still in July, these bonds will be redeemed on an early basis.
Yes, and talking about the market and the sector where the company operates, we must highlight the fact that Fastlink is a telecommunication company, and telecommunications company sector is considered as a defensive one in broader terms. Any, let's say, international, telecommunication companies in the investment environment are considered as more stable and defensive, because even during economic shocks, the services of telecommunication companies remain relevant for the regular customers. And we can see that the fiber optic total addressable market here in Lithuania is growing constantly during recent 4 years, and the compounded annual growth rate of the total addressable market in the fiber optic industry is around 6 to 7%. If we look on the right side, we can see the report from Electronic Communications Regulatory Institution. And here we can observe that Consilium Optimum was the fastest growing fiber provider in Lithuania since the fourth quarter of 2022 to first quarter of 2026. Since then, company managed to increase its market share by 0.9%, and it was the biggest increase compared to the biggest, let's say, competitors of the sector. We cannot compare to other providers that are not included in this chart because the regulatory institution does not exclude the information of each company about talking about those smaller companies. If we take a look at the financials and compare to the same fiber optic providers, we can also observe that last year the revenue growth of Fastlink was by most the biggest, because the revenue grew more than 46%. And what is outstanding that both also the net profit margin was also the highest across these companies. So we can see that in the bottom line that based on public information that can be found on these companies' public websites, based on June 9th information, we can see that the price of fiber optic internet up to 1 gigabit per second service is the cheapest if it is provided by Fastlink on network comparing to all the other competitors. Talking about market regulation, we briefly mentioned that Fastlink can benefit from existing regulation environment. We can see that both on international European Union level and both domestic Lithuanian level, we see that local competition institutions are encouraging bigger competition in telecommunication sector. And we can see that the laws have been implemented in Lithuania that smaller players in telecommunication sector can use the infrastructure of the partners of oligopolistic players to reach the end customer. How it looks in practice? So basically, Fastlink has mainly its infrastructure in Vilnius, but not too much of its own infrastructure in other cities of Lithuania. But still, Fastlink can provide services to customers in other cities by using its partners' infrastructure, this so-called service wholesale broadband access. So basically, from regulatory perspective, the question may raise how is it changing the regulatory environment? So currently, we only see the positive trends, and this competition encouragement should only continue in the near future, and even more initiatives should be seen in the future where the smaller players will be benefited from the existing regulatory initiatives. And moving on, let's touch about and talk about financials that will be presented by Denis.
Yeah, now we can speak about key financial results of the Fastlink, and what we see here is that Fastlink then demonstrate not only quick growth in revenues, but also profitable growth. Here I would mention our compound annual growth of revenues, EBITDA, and net profit. We see that our compound annual growth of EBITDA is more than 35%, net growth of net profit more than 28%, and our revenue grew drastically during the last 4 years from 3.7 to 1.8 billion. Also, EBITDA grew drastically and net profit. So all these KPIs are at very good level, let's say. And what is worth to mention that not only these KPIs are growing, but equity is growing also. Now our equity ratio is 46% at the moment. It's I think comparing with the market is quite high. And what is important for the investors that are for the financial situation and debt level of the company is really comfortable at the moment. Net debt to EBITDA ratio is a little bit more than 2, and interest coverage ratio above 3. What is really good indicator in telecommunication market, because if you compare with the telecommunication companies worldwide, usually debt to EBITDA ratio there is 4 or 5, and speaking about Fastlink, it is only 2, and it's very comfortable at the moment. Speaking about profit and loss situation, what we see here, of course, that our revenue and EBITDA is growing, but what is worth to mention here that profitability KPIs is also very good, very high. And speaking about last 4 years, our gross margin is 71%, EBITDA margin is 55%, and net margin is 23%. What is worth to mention here that this is really good indicators, not only in telecommunication sector, but if you will compare these indicators with other companies, service companies, for example, in Lithuania, these KPIs will be still really good. And despite of the, how to say, substantial investments in infrastructure, the company is still highly profitable, and we will continue to generate, let's say, strong cash flow in the future also. Here we see a balance sheet. What is important here and what it shows that every free cash flow, all free cash flow which we receive, all the money which we receive, we invest in our business development and in our network infrastructure. You see that our total asset during last 4 years increased more than tripled and increased to almost 20 million euros. That shows that all the money which is attracted from investors or banks or free cash flow is used to finance business development. And balance sheet, equity and liabilities here. What we see, of course, it's worth to mention again that shareholders' equity is 7 million euros. And speaking about financing of the company, here are 3 main parts. It's free cash flow. We issued bonds in 2024. It's 8 million euros. And another important thing that we have credit in National Development Bank, which is called ILTE, and it's like we can say, and we think that like a quality mark, because before granting credit to the Fastlink, ILTE has done due diligence, has evaluated our business development strategy, our finances, and other indicators, and they granted us credit. So it means that evaluation of the company is really a good level. At the moment, our credit in ILTE is 4.4 million euros. Until the end of the year, we can use up to 6 million euros. But even if we do that, our financial indicators will remain quite comfortable. I mean, debt to EBITDA. And what is worth to mention here one more time that company never pay dividends to the shareholder. All the cash is directed to the business development of the company.
Yes, so before coming to the question that you have asked in the Q&A session, we will briefly talk about the information once again about the issue. Also, for those who did not submit the questions, I encourage to do that in the Q&A section that we will answer just shortly, a few minutes after we present some more important things about this issue. So let's talk about collateral.
Yeah, so as in previous case, we also in previous bonds we have the same collateral, which is receivables stemming from the agreement signed with the clients. What Romualdas has already mentioned, that average duration of agreement is 28 months. If looking at the overall composition, worth noting that more than 66% actually is 1 year or longer contract. Nevertheless, what is also important, that statistically absolute majority, 96% of customers prolong the contracts even after the expiration date. The average size of contract 180 euros, meaning that as of April, the total receivables, total sales through these signed agreements is almost 700,000 euros. If calculating for the remaining duration of the contracts, the value of revenues is almost 20 million euros. Of course, important question, how would this pledge work? So we cannot forecast the future, we cannot model the specific non-payment event or how the company in case of difficulties would operate, but in general a possible model would be that in case of a need for a restructuring of the business, restructuring of the debt, the administrator would take over the managing of operations of the company, and of course part of these revenues stemming from the agreements would have to be diverted to service the company needs in order to be able to continue providing services for which revenues are charged. But also important note that if we exclude growth-related expenses and growth-related capex, significantly smaller amount of expenditure is needed to support the ongoing operation without growing. So meaning that significant part of the revenue then could be diverted towards servicing or accumulating funds for the redemption of the bonds.
Talking about the technical processes of how to participate in this offering, so investors who have an account in one of these Nasdaq exchange members in Latvia, Estonia, or Lithuania can submit their orders to participate in this offering. What they wanted to highlight that the subscription ends on 15th of July, but I want to encourage to, if you're considering this as investment, you should consider placing your order not at the last day, because some intermediaries and brokers and banks close their, let's say, have their own deadlines for submitting the orders. What's also important to mention is the ongoing exchange offer. So the current bondholders of previous two issues are invited to exchange their bonds to new bonds by choosing the preferred interest rate of 8%, 8.25%, or 8.5%. Receive the yearly redemption premium of 1% or 1.5%, and accrued interest. The bondholders, existing bondholders who will not exchange their bonds, will be redeemed on the issue date or around the date in case of successful subscription result. If this exchange offer is not clear, you can reply and ask a question of how to do this procedure to the email that from which the invitation link to this webinar was sent. It's obligacijos@osum.lt. So you can ask if any questions you have about this exchange offer technical processes if you have any. And how the bond auction works, so it's not the very standard procedure for a local market, but just shortly, you can see this matrix on the right side, this table. So if you submit an order with 8% preferred coupon, your order will be at least partly allocated in any scenario. But if you place an order at 8.5%, you'll be only allocated in case if the final coupon is chosen to be 8.5%. So the message is that if there is not a huge difference for you, whether it's 8 or 8.5, you might submit an order for 8%. If it's very important, you can submit at 8.5, but you only will be allocated then in case if the final coupon rate will be 8.5%. So that was it from the main part, and we can, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention about very important feature is the risk factors associated with this issue and then the securities. So
yeah, of course, every investment is carrying certain amount of risk, and we always encourage investors to familiarize themselves with all the risk factors. Here we have only the headings. The full description is available on the information document, so please review it. But maybe just focusing, highlighting the main risks related to the issuer and the bonds. Issuer, of course, we have general macroeconomic sensitivity, as mentioned by Paul, as we see this issuer business as rather defensive. However, nevertheless, change of environment could result in some changes, negative changes in operating performance results. Another point is, of course, competition risk. As mentioned, the company is growing, but still a rather small market player in a market dominated by oligopoly players. The risk of competition, of course, is there. However, the focus from regulatory authorities, European Commission and the Lithuanian national authorities is towards actually supporting smaller players, encouraging competition. So, but nevertheless, if there is any change in regulation, which is not likely, it could result in negative changes to the company. Another two factors related to the growth. Of course, the company is experiencing ambitious growth. So from one point of view, it requires additional capital. From another point, you have to manage the growth. The capital, if it's not adequate, of course, growth is related to investment into tangible assets. So if you don't have access to funds, you cannot finance that growth. At the moment, the company is using both bonds, debt, and internal funds, so rather diversified structure. But if availability changes, it can make the company grow slower. From management point of view, what's maybe worth noting, we saw the chart about employees efficiency. We see that the company is managing to sustain a growth rate above 20 or 30% annually, but nevertheless, it is still a risk. Moving towards bonds, of course, interest rate changes. On the secondary market, the prices can fluctuate if you want to sell before the date of maturity. Liquidity risk and secondary trading market is another risk factor. And finally, of course, suitability. Each investor has to evaluate the suitability of this bond and if it's meeting its financial and investment needs. And finally, collateral. Yes, it is present. However, of course, in case of event of default, there are no guarantees that the value would be enough to support the redemption. However, of course, we are trying and focusing towards credit quality of the company, balance sheet composition, leverage ratios, which, well, from historic perspective, are in rather conservative and stable levels.
Thank you, Vygantas. So let's move on to the questions we have submitted to Q&A section. Yes. So
yeah, we can start from easy ones. Maybe just to repeat how the auction process will work. So
Yeah, so basically, once again, so the auction process works in the way that after the subscription period, the issuer will choose one final rate that will be applied to all bonds that will be issued. So the final rate will depend on the order book, what are the results. If the majority of, let's say, orders are submitted at 8% coupon and it is sufficient to satisfy 8 million size, then it will be issued at 8%. If there are the orders are scattered across all three levels, for example, then it can be the final rate can be 8.5%, and it will then the final coupon rate will be an 8.5%, and it will not matter whether you have placed an order at 8% or 8.25%. Your final coupon rate will be 18.5%. If, as I've mentioned, we have more questions regarding the auction, please do not hesitate to contact us. We will for sure explain it to you further.
Yes. So another question, ILTA guarantee, as already mentioned, why it's not present in this case, simply because the structure of the offering is 100% refinancing. We cannot apply to ILTA because of limit of 40% of total issue for refinancing. Nevertheless, as Denis mentioned, the stamp of quality of ILTA is still there. The company is the sole financial financier of the company, so the sole bank providing financing, meaning that, yeah, the ILTA is trusting and is continuing to work with the company despite the fact that there is no guarantee this time. Yes, next question about the audit. Could you please comment on the results of the latest audit? Who conducted the audit and what the causes were for the delays of the audit?
Actually, the audit was conducted by the company which we are working for already 4 years, I think, and the results were very satisfactory because we didn't have any remarks about the financial situation of the company. So we had, let's say, the best, we got the best, how to say, mark of our financial statement. And what are the delays? Actually, we are working as business as usual, and one of the factors was that the accountant which was responsible for the audit have chosen to leave the company. So that is the main reason. And of course, the deadline is quite tight. As I understand from this year, the deadline will be the end of the May. So definitely next year we will be up to date with the audit.
Okay, thank you. Could you give us a sense of the timeline for the potential 4 million tap issue to bring the issue up to 12 million? Is that more likely this year or next? And what would be the main trigger for doing it? So maybe I could comment that yes, of course, the issue is being contemplated on the medium term. However, the company has not yet fully tapped the ILTA loan. Until the end of year, the company can increase the loan size to 6 million euros. Now it's around 4.3. So the goal, of course, is firstly to use this money. Of course, further growth plans are not decreasing, but staying at the same level or increasing, meaning that there will be a capex need in the future. However, it's still hard to say, would it be this year or would it be next year? So definitely if this year the end, if next year as soon as the first quarter. So we still think that we should focus on this issue and not to expect to have another tap issue, let's say in September. It's on a later date.
Yeah, as I mentioned previously, that the source of financing the company, we have 3 sources like own cash flow, ILTA, credit, and bonds. So at the moment, we are also speaking with Lithuanian National Bank about the increase of the credit we have at the moment. So we will take final decision after we will have an answer from ILTE.
Yes, and we see a follow-up question regarding who is the auditor. So Denis, if you can correct me, it's Audito Guidance.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a Lithuanian company that's quite also, I think it audits few other issuers in the Nasdaq Baltic. Cannot guarantee, but
Cannot guarantee.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know.
Okay, so thank you for this answer. Related question, maybe you, Denis, already answered. How are you planning to fund further future investments? So basically free source.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think that I answered.
Okay. Question about revenues. Around 20% of revenue is project-based. Could you elaborate on them? So I guess it's what we talked about, cooperation with real estate developers.
In cooperation with real estate developers, as we have our own engineers, we provide to them certain services. Also there we have like IT services which we provide to another companies. So that is the main part of these revenues. As we have also 9 programs, so sometimes we provide IT services for another companies.
Okay. Yeah. Question about CapEx. How much of CapEx is currently spent on maintenance and not expansion investment? Important question, not the first time. So could you, Denis, elaborate on it?
The major part of CapEx is spent on development of the business. So I think more than 90% here, and maintenance CapEx is very low. Speaking about monthly investments here, it's let's say 10,000 euros.
so yearly it's around few 100,000, yeah, for maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah, so in case company would stop its expansion, the CapEx just for maintenance would be yearly around a few 100,000.
So maybe it's a bit counterintuitive, but it's important to understand majority of assets, it's fiber optic network, which simply does not require frequent reinvestment. Vitalis, I think, mentioned that first fiber laid like 20 years ago is still operating and doing good. It's comparable to, I don't know, electricity grid lines. Servers, I guess, is the only significant thing you have to update. But if you're not growing, you can still kind of do a waterfall, use higher capacity servers, transfer it to lower need substations. So it's a way to minimize it and yeah, still ensure the operation of a network. Yeah, coming back to ILTE, how does the ILTE loan rank compared to the bonds? Does the bond share the same collateral pool as ILTE loan? So yeah, maybe important to mention it's ranking pari passu, meaning in the same credit line as bonds. The only difference, as correctly mentioned, is different collateral. So here for the bonds, we are offering receivables stemming from signed contracts. ILTE has a company pledge, so corporate company pledge, meaning that we have the whole remaining assets pledged as a collateral, except for the receivables. So, and also important to note is the maturity. The maturity of ILTE loan is after the bond redemption date, so after bond maturity. So time-wise, we could say that yeah, the bonds have a priority when it would be redeemed if compared to the ILTE loan.
Yeah, but it's also worth to mention that the maturity is 5 years of ILTE credit, but the graphic is 15 years, so very long.
Amortization,
Yeah, amortization chart is 15 years. And yeah, last question still about ILTE. What is the interest margin paid on ILTE loan? If you can disclose it, if it's not
Actually, I can't disclose it. I don't think that even ILTE would like to disclose it, but it's less than the coupon of our bonds.
So I guess it's comparable to
It's comparable to the
bank
bank loans, yes.
Okay.
All right. Yes. Thank you for the questions. If anyone has any more questions, please submit. We will wait just for a few more seconds. But in case if you will have any after this presentation, please contact your financial advisor, brokerage bank, or OSUM Securities by just replying to the mail from which the joining link was sent to this webinar. And just a reminder, this bond offering is until 15th of July. In parallel, the exchange offer is being offered to the existing bondholders who can change their bonds to the newly issued bonds. The existing bondholders who will not exchange their bonds will be redeemed around issue date in case of successful offering process. So thank you once again. I don't see any other questions. Thank you for participation. Thank you, Romualdas. Thank you, Denis and Mykantas. And have a nice day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.